talk a little bit about clay soil. So you have clay soil and you're a little concerned about it with your palms. Well, we're going to talk today about what you need to do and some methods to solve that. And we'll talk about the benefits and the negatives of your clay soil. So a lot of people are always concerned about their clay soil and if it's good for their plants or not. And they think a lot of times, that palms and everything, they come from Florida. So we need sandy soil. And so we'll talk a little bit about the pros and cons of clay soil. So clay soil is very good at a lot of things. It's very good at having nutrients that can be released in the soil. I mean, if you just think about it, clay, if compared to sand, sand is just small particles of reef and rocks and different things, and doesn't have a lot of nutrients. Clay, on the other hand, tends to hold a lot of nutrients in the soil, and it's a lot better at holding, retaining water. It's very good at giving the plants a good place to root in good and solid. And so some of the negatives with clay are that it's once it dries out, it's very hard, kind of like concrete, so you don't want to let your clay dry out. It's harder for the roots of plants to push through, so they have a hard time establishing good roots. And it can be hard to work with, to dig in, that sort of thing. So you notice here, all of these plants and some of my best growing palms are planted in soil that's just been amended a little bit. This is clay soil. Got our Louisiana there, give you an update. Look how tall this flower stalk is on this. Some of our plants, but if you're wanting to know what to amend your clay soil with, there's really only one or two very good options. A lot of people want to say, to put sand in it or something like that, and that's not very advisable unless it's mixed in a great quantity. Even then, I don't see the logic in that. So there's only two things that you want to mix in clay. One is compost, and you can mix that in. The only negative with compost is it retains a lot of water, and so does clay, and it'll almost make your clay even wetter. So if you're worried about if you have damp areas, you don't want to mix in really compost, and you don't want to mix in peat moss. There's only one thing, our ingredient that we're going to talk about, that's the best overall for mixing into your clay soil. And I don't have a bag of it here, but this is basically what it is. It's soil conditioner is what they call it at Lowe's. It's the finest part of these particles here. These smaller particles you might see, they're pine fines. They would be very small pieces of pine bark. Usually they're an eighth of an inch or so, very small, almost like dirt. And you mix that in with your clay, and that gives a good organic material. You can, if you're starting a bed, you can mix that in with a little tiller down. If you already have a bed, you can take a shovel and kind of mix it in a little bit. And but that is your best option for amending your clay. So you look here and you see that every palm I've planted in clay has done fine. Anything from sable minors to windmill palms, Trachycarpus fortunei, to our larger sable palms, and even our other more tropical type palms, feather palms like our Butea, and our Mula palm. All those have done really good in clay. And here's the Butea. This is planted in just solid clay, and you can see it's does fine. Just got to be careful with clay and not to plant your palms down low into it or whatever. You want to plant them up a little bit high, and just make sure they don't get waterlogged. But the Butea does fine in clay. All of our tropical plants do fine in clay. So I mean, the only thing you really need to do is, if you're worried about it, you can amend it with that soil conditioner.